Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. The NFL Draft is now in the rearview mirror. We know who the Steelers have chosen. We already did a Chalk Talk on Derek Harmon, the Steelers' first-round pick. They didn't have a second-round pick because they traded it to get DK Metcalf from the Seahawks. Good use of a draft pick. And now, third-round draft pick, Kaleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. I have to be honest, this is already my favorite draft pick of this class for the Steelers. I had zero expectation that he'd possibly be available at 83rd overall. From my perspective, the Steelers just tipped their hat to everybody and said, "Thank you very much, we'll take it." Very much like Zach Frazier in the second round a year ago. No expectation that he'd fall that far. The Steelers just take advantage of it. It's the easiest decision to make. I don't want to try to do comparisons a little bit too much, but Kaleb Johnson does have a little bit of a Le'Veon Bell type game to him. I'm not saying he's going to turn into Le'Veon Bell. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about comps. But this first run I have dialed up here is a good example of it. You see the patience and the willingness to let blocks develop. And then he can make things happen past obviously once he gets to the second level and the third level. I mean, this right here, this is, outside zone. And you don't have a clear lane here. Like, he can't continue to just go on this track right here and okay, well, there's nothing. They're open. This cutback lane's not really opening all that up because you always see on outside zone, wide zone, this kind of stuff, you always see this wall off on one side. And so that as these guys are blocking, there's a cutback lane to try to run through. In case this is ever blocked up and it's not there, you have this cutback lane that you can just go through. And that never really opens up here. The linebacker does a good job of filling that hole and saying, no, you're not getting through there. And so he's patient. He keeps his feet churning. He lets the blocks develop. He keeps it. I like the way he's kind of bending forward. Like the knees are staying. He's staying a little lower to the ground. He's not staying so upright, and he just figures his way through the traffic. And that's exactly what you want to see from a running back in that instance. And he ends up getting a chunk run here when there wasn't really a huge gaping hole anywhere. You're going to see a couple more plays that I have dialed up here in which they're very well blocked, and it's this ability to kind of just be patient, keep the feet churning, and then just find his way through. Having that vision. Vision is a huge strength in Kaleb Johnson's game. And then once he does get to this second level and he has a clearing, he can go. And some people will look at it, and this is the one thing I really wanted to say, because some people will look at his 4.57 40-yard dash, and then I don't have the number right in front of me, but his 10-yard split was not impressive either. And some people will look at those numbers, and by the way, in case you don't know what the 10-yard split is, that is the time from that the 40-yard dash begins to the point where they get to 10 yards. And it's supposed to show how quickly you can go from zero to your top speed pretty much, and how well you can accelerate from nothing. How often is a running back having to get out of a three-point stance and nothing? To me, the 10-yard split, 40-yard dash doesn't matter as much for a running back, except for if you're just wanting to see, can he run away from guys? But really quick, just a couple of stats. Kaleb Johnson, just last season, 28 carries of 15-plus yards, 21 carries of 20-plus yards, 6 carries of 40-plus yards. This dude did nothing but rip off chunk run after chunk run. And that right there, this patience, this ability to let blocks develop and then go when he sees any kind of daylight, that's it. Another really good example of, again, finding the open lane and then finding ways to create extra yards right there. That is Kaleb Johnson. and his strengths here. You're getting this looks like just straight up power because you're getting the guard coming over, or not the guard, the center. You sometimes the guard. Everybody does it. Everybody does it a little differently. So you get the center pulling for, because you didn't really get a. Yeah, this is just straight up power, and you get the center coming up. I mean, and again, you get the lane there. He sees the lane. He hits the hole. He gets north. That's another thing about Kaleb Johnson is that when you talk about one cut runners, it's the ability. It doesn't always have to be the outside foot. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's the outside foot that's got a plant, and then you can go. He really starts this bend with his inside foot right there, and then he gets north in a hurry. And once he gets north, once he finds daylight, bringing him down is not easy. If you're trying to go, I mean, what this guy's doing right here is actually the right thing, because through watching a lot of the tape that's not even going to be on here, the only time guys ever stood a chance, and it did happen quite a bit, and you'd like to see Kaleb maybe even add a little bit more to that, is that they have to go low on him. You cannot tackle him high, and you're going to see why later in this video. But even then, he shrugs that off and then takes on contact up, like at the torso, and he just spins off of that. He finds ways to create extra yards once he gets to the second level, and that's one of the reasons why there's a stat that Matt Williamson brought up the night that he was drafted, and I want to give credit to Williamson on this. Last season, Kaleb Johnson averaged just 1.95 yards per carry when first contact came at or behind the line of scrimmage. Okay, that's understandable. You're either getting hit before you can get back to the line of scrimmage, or you're getting hit at the line of scrimmage. And even getting to possibly 2 yards at that point, okay, fine. If you're getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, you can get 2 yards out of it. That's okay. I'll take it. I'd rather have 2nd and 8 than 2nd and 12. On all other runs, he averaged 10.2 yards per carry. That's ridiculous. That's insane. And some of the stuff you're seeing is the reason why. Next run here really, really goes to show his ability to read the run and cut back. Again, another chunk run here. I'm not trying to just pull up chunk runs here, but it's hard to go through his tape and not find chunk runs. I mean, like I said, 28 carries of 15-plus yards. They're all over the place. Defense completely sells out for the outside zone here, and you get this defensive end winning. He gets past the tackle, and now the fullback's got to come over and try to take him out. But you're getting linebackers filling this hole. And again, his ability to, obviously you're not getting anything there. Like anything in this area is just completely sealed off. The defense takes that off. But again, and even then the cutback lane, it's there. Well, it's blocked up, but this linebacker's there, so you can't go through it. And this is when you talk about outside zone, wide zone, but primarily outside zone, you have just to explain it really quick, you have your main attack point, which is right there. Typically, there's a cutback lane somewhere up the middle. And sometimes it's walled off here, like in terms of the guard and the tackle will help wall that off. Or sometimes it's just the tackle. It just depends, play to play. And here, primary attack point, it's not going to be there. This is getting walled off so that you can create the cutback lane for him to go through, but that's not there because the linebacker's taking that up. And so there's always a third option, and that's just going completely against the play if the defense does everything in that direction, which they do. All that's left really is this edge rusher, and he gets past him, beats that linebacker, and that's just off to the races at that point. That requires vision. That requires patience. Let's look at the way he's approaching this. I mean, again, he's not just running full head of steam. I'm going to get through there no matter what. It requires some patience, and he does that. And he sees it quickly. He identifies it quickly. Okay, there's not going to be anything there. The cutback lane is gone. My only option is to go back this way. And he just reads it, does it, uses his size to his advantage to shrug off any arm tackles, and he goes. He's a very, very smart instinctive runner, and his vision is, like I said, a key strength here. Another good, and again, this is against Ohio State. Another good run here. Another chunk run. Get the guy in motion, so you get this defender going this direction. And again, you can see, these are, this looks like more of a mid-zone run, which means he's, outside zone, you'd be going there. Wide zone, you kind of be going there. Mid-zone, you're kind of going here. That's like when you talk about primary attack points. Outside zone, here I'll do different colors. Outside zone, you'd be trying to get on this outside hip there. Wide zone, you'd be kind of going right there. And then let me get a third color here. Go green. And then mid zone, you're kind of attacking there. So looking at all that, you are kind of more, this does read more like a mid-zone run. And this gets blocked up. And again, you talk about this lane here getting opened up. That's a wide open lane, but this linebacker's here. So how well does he do in terms of beating this linebacker? And he makes a little move on him, puts his right foot in the ground, and then he cuts back toward the play. I think a lot of linebackers, when they see this and they see the linebacker cutting back across the play, they expect the running back to keep going, to keep cutting back against it. And I think the linebacker bites on that a little bit, and Johnson makes the creative decision to not keep going, to actually make a move and then cut back toward the play, toward the play side, and again shrugs off an arm tackle up at the top. I mean, that's where you use size to your advantage. I mean, he's 6'1", 224. Could probably play at a higher weight. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know before I even play this. This is very well blocked up. This is probably one of the best blocked up runs throughout all the plays that I watched. This is an outside zone, and it gets blocked up very well. I mean, you couldn't ask for it any better. The only guy who can possibly get an arm or a hand on him is this guy right here, and he barely gets his left hand out, and Johnson's like, yeah, that's not going to stop me. I put this in here because it's what he does to create more yards for himself, because he runs down the field and, okay, he gets caught. That's where you're seeing he doesn't have the home run speed, because some guys, if they're fast enough, they'll hit this, and they have a really good chance of taking that to the house. Johnson doesn't have that 4.4, 4.5, like 4.45 speed. He ran a 4.57 40, and it does kind of show here a bit. But it's once he gets to this point, a lot of running backs would be happy. I mean, you just gained a whole bunch of yards. They'd be happy just going out of bounds. He puts a foot in the ground here, stops on a dime, and he continues to try to find more yards. And he doesn't continue to try to find more yards by just running guys over like some other running backs do. He uses his agility and his cutting ability to create these extra yards, and he gets all the way down to inside the 30. I mean, this play started where? This play started at inside the 20. This is a big run here. Really, really well blocked. And we're not really judging. It's what all he does. I mean, by the time he gets stopped about there, you're getting to the other side of the 50. That's great. Well, he gets an additional 20 yards just from doing extra things, cutting back, trying to find more grass to find. It's good stuff, man. Not a lot. It's hard to judge him. There's not a lot of receiving ability that you can look at the tape and be like, oh yeah, he can definitely do this. But again, Arthur Smith will know how to if you can get this guy out in the open, this is what he can do. There's not really much to break down here. You get him open. He's got a couple blockers. He's got a lineman he's got the tackle who came out here to block, and then he's got I don't know if it's a tight end or receiver, but he's got, some receivers out there. He's got some guys blocking, and at this point, it's just I mean, look at all the grass. And even then, whenever guys start collapsing in on him, I'll just let it play. It's impressive to watch. Boom, boom. You can't tackle him high. You just can't. You have to go for the legs. You can't tackle him high. Maybe more NFL guys will be able to tackle him high because they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. And this was Nebraska. But that's still impressive. This right here, this run right here, I did it from this perspective because I really wanted you to see how well he can accelerate and in a way that it actually matters for a running back. I'll let it play, and maybe you'll see it on your own. I'll play it again. I saw it immediately, and maybe you did too. If you didn't, I'll explain it here. This is another, looks like a mid-zone run. He gets the ball. It's right here. I mean, now granted, that's only 1, 2. It's on his third step. He's kind of more upright, and then on that third step, look at the way he starts leaning forward. It's because this is when you talk about burst, when you talk about acceleration, this is what matters when it comes to the running back position. You're not running out of a 3-point stance. You're already in a running position. You're already moving, and it's when you put a foot in the ground, how well can you accelerate when you put a foot in the ground? And it's right, boom. Do it again. Boom. Like, it's that initial, I'm reading. Okay, this is really well blocked up. I'm just going to put the foot in the ground, and I'm going to run as fast as I can right away. And he hits that hole hard, and when the hole is there, hit it hard, and that's what he does. And he runs it at full speed, and it doesn't take him long to get to full speed. Boom. Like, that's what we're talking about. That's why when some teams, and I know for a fact because I talked to people on the inside, there were teams concerned about the 40-yard dash time. The Steelers were not worried about it. That did not deter them, and that is the reason why. This one right here just goes to show, again, when you talk about the 1.95 yards per carry when first contact came at or behind the line of scrimmage, well, first contact definitely comes behind the line of scrimmage here. And he just, again, you've got to make sure, if you're trying to tackle him, you've got to make sure that, number one, you get more than just a hand or an arm on him because you're not going to arm tackle this guy. And again, he's light on his feet. Going all the way back to the very first play that I showed you, he's light on his feet. You have to be light on your feet in order to kind of dance through the blocks like that. It's just impressive, man. It's impressive. I think, again, his vision, how light he is on his feet, how quickly he can change direction for a bigger back. He's a bigger back, but he runs like a smaller back. And that's what I think makes him so interesting. And why I think this is great value in the third round. I thought he was a second-round pick, a surefire second-round pick. I don't know. You could always play the hypothetical if the Steelers held on to their second-round pick and took him at 50. Would they have taken him at 52nd overall? Would they have taken him that early? I would have. He was my number 4 running back, and the top 3 running backs at that point were off the board. My number 1 was Ashton Jeanty. My number 2 was Omarion Hampton. My number 3 was Trevion Henderson. This is my number 4 running back, and that's not because I think that he's just not a good running back. This dude can run the football. Again, that acceleration right there. I think he's got it shows up better on the tape than it did running a 40-yard dash at the combine in Indianapolis. And that's what matters. What matters is what he does on the football field, not what he does when he's just doing basic athletic workouts like a 40-yard dash. All right, this is a longer one. These won't be as long from here on out pretty much, but I really wanted to kind of dive into this stuff because If anything that you saw in this made you think of Najee Harris, it shouldn't have. I've seen a lot of Najee 2.0. This dude is not Najee 2.0, man. This dude is his own running back. Again, some shades of Le'Veon Bell with being light on his feet and being patient to set up blocks. Not nearly as patient. Nobody was as patient as Lev. I've seen like a lighter version of Derrick Henry. I don't know if I'd go that far. Derrick Henry is a freak, but I could see why some people might want to. But either way, I think that this is a really good running back. It would not surprise me. This is not a slight on Jaylen Warren whatsoever, but it would not surprise me if by the time 2026 comes around, that Kaleb Johnson is their feature back, or at least their number one running back. It wouldn't surprise me, not only because of his ability, but when you factor in Jaylen Warren's contract situation, who knows? We have yet to see, but either way, great pick in the third round, great value. We'll see how it plays out for the Steelers. Everything on tape looked good at Iowa. We'll see what it looks like whenever he trades out the Iowa black and gold for Steelers black and gold. Yeah, we'll see. We'll continue to dive into the rest of the draft class throughout the week. Until then, catch you guys on the flippity flip. We'll see you later.